Man, it's a light crew today. Everybody's ready for Cabo. Is anybody in this room going to Cabo, or are we all the people that got left behind? Alex is going. All right, so here is we're gonna take one, pass it around. Ryan's gonna talk about the rad form later, but before we get started, let's kick it off with tell me something good. Tell me something good that happened in your business last week.
I have an off-market listing, 3.8 acre lot with 3,700 building done.
Wow, it's a big house.
It's a brand new building, but nobody lived in there, but it's built in 2024.
Wow, congratulations on the new listing.
Granite Bay.
In Granite Bay, okay, that's what I was gonna ask. And then how did you generate that business? How did you get the listing?
New client.
Past clients,
Past
love
client.
it. Those are the best.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any wins they want to share? Jessica?
I have a brand new listing going on the market, maybe today if the pictures are loaded in on time. 1315 Cornerstone in Blackstone, El Dorado Hills. 4 to 5 bedrooms, beautiful pool, 4,500 square feet, total and complete, like in-law unit at the bottom level. There's like the front door, and then you can go up the garage and there's another front door. So it's completely multi-generational living or big family. Stunning, all remodeled. It's a beautiful home. We're holding it open all weekend. It's 1.225.
Wonderful. Great job. Congratulations, Jessica. And then how did you generate that business?
My daughter is a competitive equestrian horse rider, and it was one of the moms in the home.
There you go. The hobby is paying for your business. It's paying for itself at least. Yeah. I'm gonna say you might be a little behind, but maybe this will help. Might help. And then anybody else have any share? Manu.
I picked up a client on a party 2 weeks ago, and then they are looking for $1 million home in West Rosen.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thanks for telling us where it came from. You get paid to party. And then what was your name? Sorry?
Diana.
Diana, what's your tell me something good?
Went to a listing appointment last night and I got it.
Congratulations.
In Folsom, Natoma Station neighborhood by the outlets. 2,200 square feet, 4-3.
Okay.
And it's got a nice pool, updated HVAC. Not sure when we're gonna be on market yet. We're still doing some jobs, but open to an off-market deals.
Perfect. By the way, while we're give her a round of applause. Give her a round of applause. While we're talking off-market deals, does everybody have access to? I don't know the actual guy who runs it, but it's done in part with Aaron Rawls. Do you guys have access to his off-market spreadsheet? No. If you don't, find me after this, and I'll try and connect you with Aaron, or reach out to Aaron directly. He can get you added on. Currently, there is about, I think, 120 off-market deals. So these are coming soon. These are things with people with signed listing agreements. They're coming soon in the market, ranging from, Manteca all the way up to like
How do we connect
Placerville.
with Aaron?
So just so if you don't have Aaron's info, the easiest way would be to probably just Google him, Aaron Rawls. He's a real estate agent. We're not hard to find. If you're good, you should not be hard to find, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just entered both of my listings on that spreadsheet.
Perfect. And so there's an off-market tab, and then there's also a buyer needs tab. So sometimes if you have a buyer that's looking for something specific, the listing agents can sometimes hop on there and go, oh, they might be able to put the deal together with you. So you can also request buyer needs on there. And then might tell me something good. Well, we actually have two. Fausto, everybody give a round of applause to Fausto and his wife, Michaela. They were back with EXP. This is your first team meeting. So thank you for coming back.
Excited to be here.
Awesome. And then how many deals did you guys close last year?
34.
34.
Yeah.
All right. So we're glad EXP is attracting producers,
Yeah.
icon agents. All right. And then my tell me something good was we just put a house on the market over the weekend and we received 4 offers on it. 4 offers. Okay.
So that
Elk Grove. So in Elk Grove, 4 offers. The highest offer was list price. So even though some of them came in lower, so what I would do if I was you, when you're talking to people who are considering selling their house, is, hey, right now is a great time to sell. Lead the way. My team, my office, just put a home on the market. And they had 4 offers their first weekend. So there's a tell me something good for you guys. And then we've already gone over our 2 newest numbers, but we also have a guest. I think he's come the furthest out of anybody in this room. Please stand up, introduce yourself.
My name's Dominic Brandon. I'm up in Boise, Idaho. And I'm friends with Jessica, and I used to work down in this market. years ago and was.
We used to do work.
Kind of do, yeah. But I specialize in moving people to Idaho. And so I was in town and visiting and she invited me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for visiting all the way from Boise.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so you guys have any referrals? You need a good agent in Idaho? Connect with Dominic. With that,
We have one online too.
oh, we have somebody online who wants to say something.
Yeah, Tracy says Barry and I got a listing in South Lake Tahoe.
Congratulations, Tracy. Round of applause for Tracy. All right. Moving on. Through the next slide. Oh, Alex, you're up, man. So while Alex is running over here, if he was on a bike, he'd be here already. It's as fast as he was. But he's great at sourdough and amazing at Bold Trails. He's one of the nationally ranked presenters for Bold Trails. So we're lucky to have him here in the office every Friday.
Thank you. Hey, so Mike, tell me something good is I put my Shingle Springs listing into contract. I'm getting both sides on it.
Nice.
And I am co-listing a $5 million property in Newcastle with an agent.
Wow.
And so we were out there yesterday and it's a 10-acre horse property. Be on the market in about a month. And I do all this using Bold Trail. As you guys know, I've used it for 4 years now. And every day I sit down and see what the activity is that's going on. And I've used the platform and it absolutely works when you use it the right way. And so right now I'm on week 8 of 13 weeks of the Bold Trail basics. And so this week I'm going to tap the brakes a little bit and just do a review of the first 7 weeks. And mainly what I want to do is hear from you guys on what's working. So I sit here every Friday at 10 o'clock and I tell you what I'm doing and I show you how to use it. But what would really be helpful for me if you guys show up tomorrow, ask me questions, but more importantly, show me what's working for you. I've sat with probably 100 agents from this office over the last 18 months. And I know you guys are using it, but I'm really looking for that input tomorrow. So show up tomorrow and be ready to show me something good.
Awesome.
So, all right.
Thanks, Alex.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. And then next slide. Okay. So there are rooms available. If you guys are still looking to get a room, still want to go last minute, there are rooms and tickets available for Cabo 26. On that note, though, there will not be a meeting. Wait, is there a meeting? No, there will not be a meeting here next week.
You told me there wasn't.
I thought there wasn't.
Yeah.
Just okay. There will not be a meeting. Final answer. There will not be a meeting next week. Most of us are going to be in Cabo. Anyways, we can meet some great speakers. So if you haven't gotten your tickets already, there's still chance. There's still time. And then next up, it's our lender minute, our mortgage minute. Mr. JJ Mack, let's give him a round of applause.
Thanks, Johnny. Wow. Well, if you're a lender right now, you're very excited because interest rates just dropped below 6%. So yeah, you guys should be excited too, right? Yeah, round of applause for that. Heck yeah. So that means your clients can all qualify for more. So if your clients were qualified for 600,000 and they wanted 700,000 last year, they might be there now. So good time to get out your database, go through it, recall them, and make sure that they know what's happening. Because if you're telling them, you're going to get the deal. But if you're not, then somebody else might get it. So definitely a good time to do that. And why is that important? Because when rates drop, right now in our market in Sacramento area, most homeowners are sitting right around between 3 to 4% interest rate. The gap just changed to where there's now more people with 6% rates than sub 3% rates. And so we're getting closer and closer and closer to where there's that even spread. So more people are willing to get off of the fence, sell their homes, and buy new ones. So that's why it's important for us as in this business to start making those calls and dialing for dollars. With that being said, I have a story I wanted to share with you guys, and then I'm going to have Lindsay talk about the Dream for All and some of the success we've had on that this week. But really quick, this story is very important, and I want you to listen because it can change the game, and it can change the way that your clients are getting offers accepted. So who here knows what our platinum approval is? Anybody know what it is? Johnny knows, used it with him several times. A platinum approval is the same thing as you going to your lenders and saying, I want this loan to be fully underwritten before we submit an offer. Now, if you go to the listing agent and you say, my client is fully underwritten, that sounds good. But what if you said, my client is platinum approved, and you had a letter from the underwriter at the company signing off on it? That would look a lot better, right? And so we went to a lot of work to get our company to allow us to do that. We contact the underwriter, they sign a letter that says, I have looked at this, I have verified that everything is signed off. All we need is an appraisal and a prelim, we can close this thing. That means you can write an offer that closes in between 10 to 14 days, whatever you guys feel comfortable with in terms of inspections. But that is a powerful tool. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you the story. So this last couple weeks ago, we had a client. We went through the exercise of getting them platinum approved. It does take a few days to do that. We did that. They went out, they started looking at homes, and they put in an offer. And just like always, we call the listing agent and we say, hey, our client has an offer. It's in your email. We want you to look at that really quick. Do you have it? Pull it up really quick. Okay, do you see the first page? Yes, I see it. Okay, it says platinum approval. What's that? That means that our client is ready to close. All we need is an appraisal and a preliminary title report. We're ready to roll. And so, and in this situation, we released all loan contingencies up front. We didn't need much. The house was perfect condition. The inspections were already attached to the MLS listing, so everything was ready to roll. Why is this important? Because there were several other offers that were in on this property that were higher than our was. But because we gave them a call and we let them know how quickly we could close, the confidence that we had to close on that loan and the speed that we could execute on it made all the difference. And it allowed that seller to pick our offer versus the 3 other offers that were out there, even though a couple of them were even higher. So super, super important. It's not always about the highest price. It's about the confidence that you have and the speed that you can get it closed. And I think Brent Gove would agree. Whenever he comes in here, you talk speed, speed, speed. You got to have the speed. That's one thing that you guys have that you can share with your clients to get out there and make things happen. So I really wanted to share that with you because it's a great story for you to be able to execute in this harder market as we continue to get more buyers involved and get more competition. Lindsay, you want to come talk really quick? So we've been doing a lot of Dream for All stuff. Where's the time? Sorry. We've been doing a lot of stuff with Dream for All right now, and we have probably like 100 clients that we've taken applications on over the last couple of weeks. And can you just give a quick update of what the Dream for All is, and if there's any questions in here about Dream for All and what it might look like?
Of course. So I know we've been preaching about this for a little while now, but the window officially opened on the 24th. And the window for entry, it's not first come, first serve, just as long as you get in prior to March 16th. You can enter in for the lottery. It is a lottery, but it's a 20% down payment. And it's a shared appreciation loan. So whatever your home appreciates in value between the time you sell it or buy it and the time you sell it, they want 20% of that increased equity as well. But there's no interest on that original 20%. And it allows people to qualify significantly higher. And also just kind of so that you guys know how we approach that, because it is a lottery, it's not guaranteed, does have about a 10 to 12% voucher recipient rate based on how many people have entered and gotten vouchers over the last few years. We are also qualifying your clients for assistance programs that they can utilize now, or in the event that they don't get a voucher. It helps them leave feeling a little more optimistic about their options. And what we've also found is that a lot of people, after they come interested in the Dream for All program, but then once they know their numbers for regular assistance, they're like, oh, well, actually, I can afford a house. Those numbers still work for me. And they're getting out shopping before they even find out if they're getting a voucher. So we're always sure to go through those numbers so everyone at least has a backup plan. And then I was going to just mention, we have a flyer, a brochure a digital brochure that if you guys want to text this number, the 916-517-1800, we can send you a visual for that. So you can put it on social media or send to your clientele base, whatever, however you'd like to use it. But it just has some basic information. It's a cute graphic. And I want to see if you guys had any questions about that program or anything really.
Yes, a question. When will the results come out?
Typically 2 to 4 weeks after March 16th. That they haven't announced the date that they're going to actually announce it. It does seem like this year has had a lot more attraction than last year did. So it's possible that it may be on the longer end of that as they are going through all of the vouchers. And
the question, if the voucher is issued for somebody, is it available? Is it what's called valid forever or just 1 year? You know.
So they have the initial voucher will say they have 90 days to identify a property. They don't have to close. They just have to identify a property and get into contract. What I have heard from quite a few people is that if you are actively looking, they are willing to give 30-day extensions. I had someone tell me they've got 3 additional extensions. So they're not going to pull it out from underneath you if you don't utilize it immediately. But there will be a certain point where if you have a voucher and you're sitting on it, they'll say, okay, we got to take this back and put it back in the pool of funds. Because there is voucher recipients, a wait list, and then did not receive. And the people that are waitlisted, we had one buyer that it was 18 months after she'd gotten the lottery and was waitlisted. She kept getting moved up that wait list and eventually got a voucher and bought a house. She was just able and willing to be patient for it. So it does certainly happen, but they will, my guess would be probably 6 months would be the max time. Thank you.
And I think there is a special requirement for credit score for this one, right?
Yeah, so they all have credit score minimums. This one is 660 if you are below 80% area median income, 80% if you 680 if you are above that. And then if you have a score above 700, I know we're adding layers to this, they allow you to go to a little bit higher debt to income ratio. So you qualify for a little bit more if your credit score is above 700, but 660. And what we're doing with a lot of people too is where you say someone's at 630 or 640, they're close. We want to just bridge that gap. We're running credit simulators for them. Say, okay, if you take these action items, we can get your score up by 20 or 30 points. And then if they don't use the Drink for All program and they're using regular down payment assistance, it's just 640. So, there's a bunch of different thresholds there.
I just got 660 or more.
We'll help them. Yeah, 660.
So is it single family or is it single family only, or is it, can you do like multi-unit, like a duplex?
So the exclusions are, it cannot be a duplex. They don't want anything income producing. So it does have to be a single family home, townhouse, condo. It can be a manufactured home if you own the land. It cannot be a mobile home in a park community. And that goes for all assistance. Really no assistance will allow in a park community, but everything else. Yeah. And then if you guys have any specific questions, scenarios, buyers you want to run by us, feel free to reach out to us. The text number here, our team number. If you have my cell phone, give me a call. But we'd be happy to help your clients. They have a few more weeks to get entered in, and we are turning those over quick. We know time's of the essence. So
your platinum program, what's your close time? In a week? How fast do you close?
So we can do as fast as 10 days.
10 days?
Yep.
Okay.
So if you want to write a 10-day offer, certainly you can execute on that with platinum.
That's fast.
And I wanted to kind of tail off what JJ had said. A lot of times, so if you put 10% or more on a down payment, we can run it through our automated system to see if they also get an appraisal waiver. So we have had it before where they're putting 10 or 20% down. We run it through to see if we get an appraisal waiver. We have a platinum approval. You can then waive your appraisal contingency and your loan contingency because we don't need an appraisal and we already have loan approval. And I will say that if you are doing work in the Bay Area, it is pretty standard to not have contingencies. So we like to know in advance what properties you're offering on so that we can get you a platinum approval so that you can out of the gate know you can remove your loan contingency. And then we'll run the address through for those buyers to find out if we can also get rid of your appraisal contingency. And those two things we've had it happen so many times that being able to do that will help win offers. All right,
Guys.
thanks guys.
Thanks. Let's get good day. All right, real quick before I think next up is our. Oh, yes. Who was it that wanted me to do this? Somebody wanted me to promote this. Derek Sandoval, I know. Derek Sandoval. We got a charity poker tournament. Scan the QR code. It's gonna be fun. It goes to a good cause. Oh, sorry guys, I'll just have to talk about it.
Sorry.
All right. It goes to a good cause, sorry online. And just scan the QR code. So there's that, and let me see if I can work this thing. All right, before we bring up the man of the hour, I wanted to just give so that the offer. You like that picture?
How old is it?
I don't know, I pulled it off online, man. This looks like circa 2018.
I think so.
Maybe it's 2018. Known him for a minute. But that offer that we had on our property, where there were 4 offers, we accepted one. Okay. The reason why, like to JJ's point, this is free. This doesn't cost your clients anything to do, and it makes your offers get accepted if you are responsive with the listing agent. I cannot tell you how much it pisses off Valerie, how much it pisses off Shannon when somebody submits an offer on the property and she tries to call and she can't get a hold of the agent. Or she wants to talk about something and she can't get a hold of the agent. One of the reasons why we went with the offer we did was because the communication between Shannon and the buyer's agent, they weren't peppering her with calls all day long. They were not being annoying. They weren't being like over the top. But every time she had a question, they answered the phone. Every time she texted them, they texted her back quickly. So when you're looking to get offers accepted on a property as a buyer's agent, you need to be responsive. It doesn't cost you anything, and it makes you stand head and shoulders above the rest. And that's one of the great things JJ, Mac, and Lindsay do, is they'll actually call them. Because oftentimes, like my guy's number one problem with the reason why he wanted to go with this offer was because he was in contract with a different agent last year. They went through the escrow process, and then the buyer just canceled. They said, it turns out they could not get the loan. And so his number one thing is he wanted to know this person could actually perform on the loan before he moved forward with opening escrow. And so JJ and his team can help you with that, and then just answer your dang phone. Answer the phone.
Yes.
So with that, we have some EXP royalty in here, a little celebrity. He's the managing broker for Northern California for commercial real estate and an all-around good guy, Mr. Ryan Rosas.
Hello. Yeah, Johnny and I have known each other for at least 8 years or so. And Valerie too, not just John. But so these guys are actually some of my best friends. So anytime he asks me to come in, I'm always happy to pop my head in. One of the things he wanted me to talk about today was certain things that top producers may do to get themselves in hot water. So I'm going to touch on that, but I wanted to start today with the RAD form. Whoever at Cower Forms committee came up with RAD was having a lot of fun. How many people have used this so far, the RAD form? So these are actually intended to be used on every single transaction. And the concept behind it is that we are telling a consumer a couple of things. One is at the very top, we're all realtors, right? And we are telling the consumer that we are a member of the Placer County Association of Realtors, the Sacramento Association of Realtors, whatever it may be. So that if a consumer has an issue, they know what their resources are to try to address that issue. So whether it's going to the broker or whether it's going to the association themselves. A lot of agents don't realize with the associations and grievance committee that it's not just for agents to bring grievances against agents. We deal with consumer grievances against agents all the time. And so the concept behind the RAD form is to start is to share, hey, Mr. Consumer, Miss Consumer, this is a resource that's available to you. But more importantly, the reason why this form was created was or is due to the disclosure requirements around referrals now. So if a referral is either being received or paid, we have to disclose that to the consumers. So it's something that for a long time, right, referral fees come and go.
But with the settlement terms with the National Association of Realtors, all that fun stuff that we've been dealing with for a year and a half, layer upon layer upon layer keeps getting added to it. And this is one of those layers. It's that now referral fees must be disclosed. And so there is a portion on here that talks about if you're receiving or paying compensation and how much that is. That's regarding the referral fees. So if you guys are doing a referral fee agreement, this automatically gets attached. If you're using the CAR referral fee, the RFA, this automatically gets attached because it's intended to provide the consumers with the knowledge that that's taking place. The other fun part about this, yes, Johnny.
Oh, so if you're on Zillow, Lex, HomeLight, Fast Expert,
Everything.
everything, yeah.
Everything. And it is because we're all members of the National Association of Realtors, we're all bound to the terms, right, of the settlement. So we have to disclose, yeah.
How about if you're on a team and you're paying a referral fee to the
Like a team split, you mean?
correct?
No, that doesn't have to be disclosed. It's only basically if we're giving a referral or receiving a referral to another. Referrals are broker to broker.
Okay.
Right? If everything is in-house, if we're on a team and I'm paying Johnny a team as a team leader, a split, that doesn't have to be disclosed. Yeah.
What about co-listings?
It depends if it's with another broker. Well, no, because it's not a co-listing isn't a referral, right?
So it doesn't.
Right. Well, I guess no, a co-listing is not a referral because you and I are going on the listing together. That's all already being disclosed in the listing agreement. Even if it's us and Keller Williams and it's a co-broker, that's being disclosed with an ABA and in the listing agreement. It's only if it's a referral fee, that other person is not being involved at all. Yeah. The fun, I always like to point out the fun piece on here. This is not new. We've always had a requirement to disclose either financial or familial relationships. So I'm related to, my sister is the buyer, right? I'm the buyer, I'm the seller. We've always had a requirement to disclose that. But if you look at the RAD form, it actually has an element on here that says, hey, I am either financially or related, I'm either financial interest or related to this person. But what's interesting on here is it also talks about, if you look at 3B subsection 6, and it says, any other person with whom I have a special relationship. That cracks me up, right? Because what is that special relationship, right?
Yeah.
The intention behind that, as ambiguous as that statement is, Johnny and I, we're not related, right? We don't have a financial interest in anything. But he's one of my dearest friends in the world, right? And so if I was representing him on something, we have a special relationship, right? And so it's something that needs to be disclosed. And so we get a lot of questions around that. So I just wanted to touch base on that. The biggest thing that I wanted to let you guys know is on the bottom in the signature sections. So because part of the information on here is saying, okay, well, we belong to a certain association, but you can also contact our broker if you have any issues. And so what will happen is agents will put the broker's contact information on here, which it's designed for: broker, office manager, supervisor, or contact person, telephone, email, and then they'll send it to us for signature, but we don't need to sign this. This is just intended to provide our contact information, but the agent still signs it on the byline, just like they do on the purchase agreement or the listing agreement or whatnot. So, questions on the RAD form? Yes.
So since the special relationship comes up, so most homes are sold in SOI. So do you have to disclose everybody in SOI that you have like people in your sphere?
Great question. I mean, not necessarily. I mean, the sphere of influence could be anything. I mean, you could be in my sphere of influence kind of through Johnny. Johnny could say, hey, listen, I've got this person. That's not a special relationship. Again, it's a very ambiguous term, right? And so the idea is if I know this person, right? It's one thing if you're on my campaign, right? Bull Trail. I can't remember where we went. There you are. Yeah. That's one thing, right? Because I'm looking to earn your business. But if he and I are out every week having lunch together and we're playing golf, that's a little bit different, right? So there's no definitive answer to it because it's ambiguous. Got a little forms committee for doing that, but the idea behind it is, here's the legal eagle element of me coming out. The idea behind it is there have been lawsuits and settlements and mediation and all kinds of stuff that says, well, I didn't realize that you guys were so close together, right? And you are representing this person, and maybe I have your listing and then I'm representing Johnny as the buyer, right? And again, there's no financial interest. There's no, we're not related, but a seller may say, you're representing his interest better than you're representing mine because you guys are best friends, right? And so that's kind of the concept behind it because we've dealt with laws, not we, well, I'm sure we probably have, but the industry has dealt with that kind of stuff. So that's the idea behind it.
That's funny because most sellers, like most agents will have a fiduciary duty towards their seller and they're gonna work in their more interest anyways, regardless of.
Yeah, I mean, good point. I mean, California is one of only 5 states that allows dual agency, so the representation of both the buyer and seller in the same brokerage. I mean, it's not allowed in the vast majority of states. And to your point, that's why, right? Because we start with the seller, we get the listing. Our fiduciary duty starts there. If I'm bringing in the buyer, I have a fiduciary duty to the buyer as well. How am I balancing that? I'm supposed to be getting both of them the best possible terms, right? So you're right. And so most people kind of leaned towards the seller, and even unintentionally so, but that is what happens. And so I think the idea behind this is to help disclose to everybody, this is what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions around the RAD form? Okay. So, big issues or top issues that we see top producers making. And really a lot of this stuff isn't limited to top producers. So for those of you, I know I see a lot of familiar faces in here. For those of you that don't know me, I oversee 10,000 agents in this state. So we have a team of 13 managing brokers. The vast majority, if you come to the broker floor in eXp World or you call, the vast majority of the time you're going to be working with one of my managing brokers. I work on the legal level. I'm on the phone with DRE special investigators almost daily. So I do a lot of kind of the logistics behind the scene to keep the gears moving and greased. And so the idea is that mistakes absolutely do happen. The reason Johnny and I were kind of talking about top producers is I was sharing with him that a lot of times agents with experience will take action on their own, even with the best interest at heart. They'll take actions on their own on behalf of a client, and those actions aren't always sanctioned. And so what I mean by sanctioned is that the buyer and the seller are the only decision makers, right? It is our responsibility to provide guidance and advice and answer questions, but we don't get the opportunity to say, nope, my seller's not going to take that, right? My buyer will never agree to that, right? We have to say, okay, well, you want that to be presented, I'm going to present it. But what we find is that top producers are people that do a lot of volume. Number one, because they are doing volume and it's the sake of balancing a big workload, number one. But number two, because they have a lot of experience, they just naturally want to say, well, no, this is how it's going to be, or that's how it's going to be. And then inevitably it lands on my desk to negotiate a settlement. I was sharing with Johnny earlier today that I'm negotiating a settlement right now because we had one of our agents fill out both the TDS and the SPQ on behalf, completely handwritten, wrote everything out on behalf of the sellers. There's just no defensible position to that, right? We can't do that, right? So here I am trying to negotiate down a demand payment as low as I can possibly get it because we have no defensible position, right? I'm trying to avoid us getting into court. But the agent that did that is an experienced agent. And when I had a conversation with this agent, the response that I got was, I didn't know I couldn't do that, And so my follow-up question is, well, how often do you do this? And he said, well, almost every time. And I'm like, whoa, what else are we going to fall into here, right? And so I think that when we start doing enough business, and again, a lot of it gets into systems. This business, this industry is heavily based off systems, right? If you do any type of volume, you're not going to be able to accomplish that without some type of system in place, right? Again, kind of going back to the bull trail element, right? Yeah. So systems are an incredible resource for us. But ultimately what it breaks down to is the agent, the licensee, becomes the responsible person. So if I have a Department of Real Estate special investigator call me up and say, what's going on with this paperwork, right? This paperwork is missing stuff. I had a consumer complaint because the DRE, guys, let me back up a little bit. The DRE is a consumer advocacy agency. They are not out to get us. They are not there to say, I want to pick on you and you and you and you. They respond to consumer complaints. That's what they do. I can't tell you how many times I get a broker on the other side of a transaction that says, well, do you want me to take this to the DRE? And I tell them, go ahead. I have no problem. I've got such an incredible relationship with the DRE over these past 5 years that I've worked here, that I basically know all the special investigators. The San Diego office is the worst, but I deal with all the field offices. But I don't have a problem with things getting to the DRE because I know how the DRE does stuff. But what happens is they're a consumer advocacy agency. And so if somebody is going to file a complaint and they come to me and they say, I need to see this file, or I need to see what this looks like. And I'm looking at the file and the agent didn't complete their visual inspection disclosure. There's incomplete TDS and SPQ in there, whatever, you name it, right? And inevitably I ask the agent, what's going on with this? Where is this at? And can anybody guess what the biggest response I get is? The most common response. Anybody?
What was the question?
If we're missing something in a file, whether it's an active file or it's a closed file, and I say, where is this? Can anybody take a wild guess what the biggest response is? Barry?
I sent it to my TC.
Bingo. Bingo, right?
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I gotta ask my TC. And going back to the systems that we use, right? One of the things that we use is transaction coordinators. Transaction coordinators are exceptionally valuable in this business in helping us do any type of volume, but they're not responsible for the file. And if I were to tell that special investigator, well, the agent says they gave it to their TC and it's not there, you know what that special investigator is going to say? I don't care. I don't care. The agent's responsible. And so the biggest things that we see is that agents aren't ensuring that the systems that they have in place are actually fulfilling their licensing requirements. And that's what gets them in trouble. Or they are acting on behalf of a consumer. They are not presenting something to a consumer, right? So as an example, you may have a listing and that listing may be in contract, may or may not be in contract, doesn't matter. But I, as the listing agent, now get an offer from Johnny's client. My listing is listed at $600,000 and Johnny's client comes in and writes me an offer at $300,000. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get that to myself. He's going to be pissed at me. He's going to yell at me. I know he'll never accept it. I'm not even going to present it. But we have a legal obligation to present every single offer that comes in to the moment escrow closes. So even if we're in contract, we still have to present offers to the moment escrow closes because our agency relationship exists. And so that's another piece that tends to get agents and top producers in particular in trouble, is that they're acting on behalf of their clients, that they forget that they're not the decision makers. I deal a lot with it with independent brokers that kind of think they're, stuff don't stink kind of thing, right? And they tell me the first thing they say is, I've been in this business for 35 years. And I said, I don't care how long you've been in this business. You've been in this business for 35 minutes. You're still wrong, or you still have to have, I want your client I want something from your client that says that acknowledges that this has been presented or whatnot. We see a lot of it, guys, with requests for repairs and addendums. A lot of times agents get very creative on language that they write in addendums, and it crosses the line into practicing law, right? Because we're creating language that has no legal enforceability, or we create avoidable elements to the contract. And then inevitably it comes to the broker team and we're saying, yeah, I don't know what to tell you at this point. It is what it is. And so I think to kind of wrap up what in the top producers element is that just be diligent. Remember that when we got our licenses, the license is issued by the DRE, that's a consumer advocacy agency. What would the DRE think on how we're practicing? So utilize those resources, utilize a TC, but make sure that you're double checking stuff, right? Make sure that you're presenting things to your buyer and seller and not making a decision for them.
Is there any thing that might come out from EXP where they're not gonna pay you if the file's not complete? Because I see files getting closed.
So, great question. We are not in the business of not paying our agents. It is counterproductive to any brokerage to do that. There is an element of habitual offenders. So the biggest example I can give you is the buyer representation agreement. It is a legal requirement in the state of California. We just don't get to say no. And so we see that there are issues. Probably almost everybody in this room has gotten something from our contract compliance team that says your BRBC was signed after the fact, right? Or where is it? Our premise is to educate. We want to come to you and say, hey, listen, we want you to understand that this is a requirement by the state of California, by California Civil Code. We don't get a say in what it is. And so we want to educate you. If somebody does it over and over and over and over and over again, we won't necessarily not pay them, but we will exit them out of the business because they create liability for us, right? So there is an element to that. So yeah, good question though. Any other questions on things that top producers might see or compliance, anything like that?
I'll just say that I call into the world probably 2 or 3 times a month, and it's incredibly easy to get a hold of one of the state brokers.
I appreciate hearing that.
Yeah. I just want to say that I've found over the last 20 years that the question that you don't know to ask in this business is what's going to hurt you the most. And so I tell everybody that I work with on the agent level to don't ask questions to me, ask the broker.
Yeah.
Ask the broker.
There's no question that's too dumb.
No,
I'd rather you ask me the stupidest question in the world and me be able to educate you and get you into the right place than have to put out a fire after the fact.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. But I appreciate that feedback because we do get a lot of feedback that says that the brokers aren't reachable. And it boggles my mind a little bit because we work 7 days a week where you have availability 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. There is absolutely no such thing as a real estate emergency. There's not. Everybody thinks there is, but there's not. And I can tell you that on average, we get about 12 to 1,400 signature requests a day and probably 12 or 1,300 broker emails every single day. And without a doubt, guys, at least half of those, the first thing on there says urgent. So urgency to us, unfortunately, that word has been totally devalued because you look at it, it's like, this isn't urgent. You need a CDA for something that's closing 3 weeks from today. You know? And so, but to your point, I appreciate you bringing that up. We are incredibly accessible. A lot of agents don't know where to reach us, but yeah, EXP World, the 888 phone number. And I always tell people, when you call the 888 number, and because that rings to all of the brokers, and so we'll take rotations on picking it up. But if you don't get us, leave a message. We call back. We will call back. So leave a message, and then the broker email as well. But we are incredibly accessible, and we do our best to make sure that we are getting back in a timely manner, considering the volume that comes through. So.
And would you mind saying that broker email and that broker phone number?
Absolutely, great question. So the broker email is ca.broker@exprealty.net. And make sure it's .net. I know that all of your emails are .coms, staff use .net. And so if you send it to .com, we won't see it. So just keep that in mind, exprealty.net. The 888 number is 888-584-9427. And we will pick those calls up between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days a week.
On one side?
Yes, 888-584-9427.
CA broker at exprealty.net.
ca.broker@exprealty.net.
Can you text that number, the phone number, or is it on the call?
No, that one you can't text. Because what happens is it goes to our ECCs, which are because people will call. We don't know. Do you need payment processing? Do you need accounting? Do you need whatever? And so they'll call and kind of filter it through. But if you call and say, I need to talk to a broker, they'll route you to the broker. Yeah.
Before we move on, Ryan, I grease the tracks here a little bit. So
584.
guys, things that just being real with you, things that have bit me in the butt in the last 12 to 18 months, Avid's not being completed. Okay. Like you think you've done it, maybe your TC, but your TC didn't submit it. Your Avids need to be completed. Like Ryan said.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to call Johnny out real quick on this one. He's going to hate me for doing it, but he's like one of my best friends. So I had somebody who I was dealing with the consumer complaints, and one of the things that they said is the Avid wasn't done. It was on a closed transaction, and it was one of, I think, Valerie.
Yeah, I was telling.
Yeah. And I was like, I've known these guys for years. There's absolutely no way. I don't believe it for a second that these guys didn't do an Avid. There's absolutely no way. And sure enough, there wasn't an Avid in the file. And so I called him. I'm like, what happened?
It made me look like a fool.
But you know, my point is that mistakes do happen. We're all human. This is the point of me calling you out. So sorry about that. But, mistakes happen. We're human beings. If I were to have to sit down with a special investigator, my position to that person would be, look at these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of files that each one of them has an AVID on. They are not people that don't do it. They do it. There was some kind of mistake or whatnot. Now, would that get me out of the hair of the DRE? I couldn't say yes or no, but at least I would have a position to say these aren't agents that are just, shirking their responsibilities, right? They're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
That's what I was thinking of. So Avids and then TDS SPQ, make sure those are filled out. What we're telling clients is these have to be filled out before we go live on the market. Because once you go live, because that's what they want, right? All the sellers want to go live, want to get their money, they want to begin the process. Well, tap the brakes. We're not going live until we get the TDS SPQ. Okay, and then they have to fill it out. They have to fill it out. And then also go ahead.
And then you have to read it.
Bingo.
Once they fill it out.
So this is true.
Okay, so I was in trial for 5 weeks last year because the TDS was incomplete. So it was done by the buyer or by the seller, but there are questions that were either not answered, or when a yes was answered, there was no explanation.
Yep.
And the complainant was saying, well, why didn't the agent call that out to the seller? Right. And so
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Gotta read them.
Gotta read them,
Mhm.
or have a Shannon that reads them. And then the third thing was this one surprised me. If you guys ever had you just leave the key under the mat. You pull your lockbox, put the key under the mat. Like we had a client recently. This is a whole nother conversation, but anyway, she likes to crack pipe a little too much and decided she wanted to cancel the
I thought it was meth.
meth, whatever. Tomato.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to close on a Friday. She said, no, I'm not closing. The buyers had put $9,000 of their own money into the lender required repairs. She said, no, I'm canceling. I'm going to rent it out. She put it on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody moved in, changed the locks on the property, and then they found out that she didn't live in. So then now they're out the $6,500. This lady is a piece of work.
Yeah.
But throughout all this, she was like, just leave the key under the doormat. Just leave the key under the doormat. I'm like, Ryan, I know this is probably going somewhere where we don't want it to go. Can I just leave the key under the doormat? Oh, by the way, she's also allegedly shot her boyfriend in the face. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to be around. I just do the doormat. Please, Ryan, don't do the doormat. He's like, no, Johnny, do not do the doormat. That is a breach of security. And so things like that. Don't leave the keys under the doormat. Okay.
You can mail it to them. Put it in a priority mail envelope, right, and send it to them.
Or they can pick it up, right?
Or they can pick it up. Yeah.
Those are the main legal things that I've seen recently. Oh, and then she wanted to cancel. The same woman, she wanted to cancel, and the buyer told me, "Hey, we're going to sue." Like they paid $4,000 to break their lease. They put $9,000 into the repairs. They can't stay at their house anymore because now that it's been re-rented out, and now you're canceling on them 5 days before this thing's they're supposed to be moving in, and they're going to sue. And so I asked Ryan, hey, what do I do here? He said, let her know she's going to be sued. You're not threatening her. You're just informing her. And so, but at the end of the day, it was her decision to cancel that agreement. It was not mine. And so we have text on text saying that. So
yeah, she says prepare a cancellation. Prepare a cancellation.
Prepare the day of cancellation. And so The last thing I'll say, is this kind of is this helpful?
Yeah.
Like things that maybe you're doing, you're like, oh, I don't want to be up there with getting lit up by Ryan. Is the cancellation process, what's the first step? If somebody's not performing, what's the first step? I just helped you out.
Notice.
There we go.
2 days.
What's the second step?
Send the cancellation.
Demand to close,
Yeah.
right?
Well, not necessarily.
Not always, but like demand to close.
Yes.
If you guys are trying to do this, and then.
Yeah, so a cancellation. A demand to close is different than a cancellation of contract.
Yeah.
So it's the same equivalent to a notice to buyer or notice to seller to perform. It's just for the close of escrow, has to come before cancellation. So, but you can't issue a demand to close escrow on day 10 of a 30-day escrow. And then utilize
They
it.
have to be in violation.
They have to be in violation,
Right.
yeah.
And then
2 days after the notice to perform, then you do that. For the notice.
No, so the demand to close escrow can only be issued 3 days prior to the scheduled close of escrow.
Oh.
If it's issued before that, it's automatically void.
So for my buyer, there was another EXP agent that had the buyers on our property. They needed to submit a notice to perform.
Right.
And they needed to submit the demand to close. They needed to submit
Right.
the cancel.
Yeah, because in this scenario, we were at the end,
We're at the end.
right? But if you're in the middle, the demand to close escrow won't work because you're too far away from the scheduled close of escrow. But the notice to buyer or notice to seller, in this particular case, to perform.
And
Yeah.
then what is it, as far as notice to perform, do you have to wait until they're expired or can you submit that prior to?
You can submit it ahead of time. So if you have an investigation contingency that is due on the 15th, as an example, you can issue the notice to perform on the 13th. 13th will be day 0, 14th day 1, 15th day 2, through all the way through 11:59 p.m., which means on the 16th the cancellation right is available. Keep in mind that the calendar days are how they're counted, but it cannot end on a weekend or a holiday. So if that notice to perform ends on a Saturday, the cancellation is now going to go through 11:59 p.m. on Monday. So they won't be able to cancel until.
So are you saying that weekends and holidays can count, but they just can't end on them?
Correct. So you can start, as an example, you can start on a Saturday. Saturday is day 0, Sunday day 1, right?
And Monday's a holiday, so that will count too.
Right.
As long as it doesn't end on that.
As long as it doesn't end on that day. But if you start on Thursday and now it's ending on Saturday, now you have to wait until basically the week, right? And then demand to close escrows are very similar. And when you think about it, it makes sense for demand to close escrow because the county's closed, the title company's closed, right? You can't actually close on a weekend or a holiday. Yeah, very.
So when you go through that notice to perform and they don't perform, or when you're at the cancellation, and your client signs the cancellation and the other client doesn't.
Great question.
Where are you at as far as putting it back on the market and getting in the contract, all of that?
Fantastic question. That's actually two different portions of the cancellation of contract. The first portion can be unilateral. It can be bilateral, but it can be unilateral, which means that I am the buyer. I'm within my investigation contingency. I don't like the pest report, whatever it may be. I'm canceling. I can unilaterally cancel. That's section 1. Section 2 is the cancellation of escrow and the release of deposit, and that is bilateral, which means that both the buyer and seller have to sign off on that. And if they don't, usually it's the seller, right? Because it's the buyer's deposit. The seller's not signing for any reason. The seller can still put the property back on the market, right? Because the contract itself is canceled, but the escrow isn't. So the seller would have to disclose to any new buyer that there is a disputed escrow, because that buyer could potentially, depending on the circumstances, file list pendants, sue for specific performance, and muck up that next transaction. So the seller does have to disclose it, but it doesn't mean that they can't move on and remarket the property. What will likely happen is that they won't be able to utilize the same escrow holder because that escrow holder is going to say, well, I don't know what's going on with this. I'm not going to start another one. So you might have to go to a different escrow company. Yeah.
And that's okay to go to the different.
Yes, it is.
As
Yep.
long as you disclose that there's another one out there.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. Yep. Yep.
So what happens to the deposit if that happens?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's the deposit, it becomes a buyer seller dispute, right? Because what's that?
They go to court, for example?
Yeah,
But it won't hold up the new escrow.
typically it can, right? It can hold up the new escrow because again, let's just say that buyer files a list pendants, right? Let's say that the seller is just being a jerk or whatever. Who knows? I mean, I see so much of it. Like Johnny's client, right? Let's say the buyer files a list pendants, and that is going to stop everything from happening. Refinancing, closing escrow, anything like that. So it can do it. We don't see it get to that point very often, simply because time, energy, and money, right? Is it worth what they're going to pay? Does the buyer want this house so bad that they're genuinely going to sue for specific performance, right? And they're going to spend all that money doing it. So can it happen? It can, but it's highly, highly unlikely to happen. But you never know. Nobody has a crystal ball, right?
If they take the next step, they can hold it up.
Yeah.
For example, we represented an investor, they flipped the property, buyer submitted on the property, buyer wanted to negotiate some repairs, they couldn't come to terms. So the seller canceled, did not release the buyer's deposit. We then sold the property. And then I think like 12 months later, 18 months later, the buyer's agent still reaching out to us.
Mhm.
Hey, can we get our deposit back?
Mhm.
You know, because they just
Reaching out to you or reaching out to us?
the buyer's agent was reaching out to me to try and figure it out.
Which is interesting because escrow
Escrow issue, isn't it?
It is
an
but the
escrow
buyer-
issue.
What probably happened, because we've all been in these situations, our buyers or sellers are saying, hey, help me with this, reach out to so-and-so, and you're like, this isn't my job anymore, like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm just gonna placate you and do it, so that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
But still, my point is, 12 to 18 months later, buyers still didn't have it.
Which actually surprises me because the escrow is regulated just like we are, right? So they're either regulated by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation or the Department of Insurance. And they have strict guidelines on their trust accounts, just like if we had a trust account, we have strict guidelines. And if something is held up in there for an extended period of time, they're actually required to escheat the funds to the state, which means that I'm giving it to the state. Somebody has to go make a claim. I don't care who it's going to be. Somebody goes and makes a claim. It's just off of our books, right? So there is a particular period of time that they can only hold it until. We tend not to see that kind of stuff get to that point. It's usually the seller that says, okay, fine, I'm going to sign because I got it into contract with somebody else or whatnot.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, if there is a dispute, it is a buyer-seller dispute. It's something that they've got to work out on their own. Does that mean that they're going to small claims court? Does that mean that they're sending a demand letter? Just depends what that's going to look like. Yep.
All right, another topic. Hopefully we're not derailing you guys. This is nothing interesting. I know we're going to go long. Last thing I'll say about this is after the property closes, what's your role as agents?
Nothing.
Like if somebody says, hey,
Referrals, I like that.
somebody says, hey, they left this giant play structure in the back of the house. Like, can you call your sellers and have them remove it? What's your answer to that?
You have to coordinate it. You have to help them out. Otherwise, your client's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, so great.
Do we have an obligation to though? Is that the question?
There is no obligation, right? So
Or if it's like not clean, right? Hey, your client left all this crap in the property. They got to get it out, or we're going to sue, or blah, blah, blah. Like, so what happens?
yeah, I mean, the contract addresses all of that. I mean, it's buried in those 18 pages, right? But I know the contract like the back of my hand. And so the contract has a provision in there that talks about the play structure in the back, the shed, the tractor, whatever it may be, right? And it says that it becomes abandoned property, that the buyer has to notify the seller to come and pick it up. And if they don't do that within a certain number of days, it becomes abandoned property, and the buyer can now call the hauling company out to get rid of it, and then have the seller be responsible for all those costs, right? So it's all built into the contract. But to Johnny's point, the contract and agency, yes, they end, right? Technically, escrow closes and agency ends. I totally recognize it's not that simple, right? We have ongoing relationships. I heard somebody scream referrals out here, right? I think it might have been our Idaho guy, right? Or was it you? Yeah. We have ongoing relationships, right, with these clients, and it doesn't just stop just because escrow closes. We're trying to nurture this for future business, and just because we're good people, right? And so we are the first ones that they pick up the phone and call. So if it's something as simple as, to Johnny's example here, it's the play structure, it's the carpets aren't clean or whatnot, yeah, let's pass that information on. There's absolutely no harm in doing it. If it's something like a deposit dispute, or it's been 45 days and I started remodeling the bathroom and there's mold in there, right, that we discovered, and now it's you guys were hiding it and the seller didn't disclose it, we can certainly pass that communication on. I'm going to send this to the listing agent for them to provide to the seller. But Aside from that, that's it. Because inevitably what happens is everybody in the room, right, and the brokerage gets looped in and named on the lawsuit. Because we have the pockets. That is what it boils down to, right? And so they want to include everybody. And so the farther we can stay away from it, the better. And I get it's not as simple as that because we have this ongoing relationship. What I tell agents is tell your clients, my license doesn't allow me to mediate post-close disputes. I am actually prohibited from doing that. And I get that you're in trouble or that you're upset. I will pass this information along. I will ask if they will provide contact information for the buyer or the seller. Aside from that, unfortunately, my license limits me in what I can do.
So if that other agent's lighting you up, so you need to do something, like you don't, pass it along. If the buyer's reaching out to you and represent the seller or vice versa, say, hey, I'll pass it along. Do not get involved.
Yeah.
That's a fast.
Like I said, I deal with lawsuits every single week. It's an unfortunate part of the business.
You shouldn't be passing the contact information either, right?
So, well, contact information requires consent because of the California Consumer Privacy Act. So I can ask you, Barry, can you provide me with your seller's contact information? And you can ask the seller, the buyers want your contact information, and your sellers can say, go pound dirt. That's going to be your response. I asked the seller said no, I don't have permission.
And there's liability for us if we do provide that contact information. And is there also liability, back to Johnny's example, so who sets left? I had that where I was the listing agent for some elderly people who were going into a nursing home. And there was a bunch of crap left. And my son was like, Tom, we can't do this. Can you help us out? And I felt, I love this guy and I love the couple and I felt for him. So I called 1-800-HAUL-TRASH or whatever it is. There was so much crap. So we finally got it taken care of. And I just did that because I felt, I liked him and I felt bad and I felt bad for the buyers as well. So I know I can do that. Johnny, you're saying that I'm not required to. Am I liable if I do that? Am I putting my
You can be liable. It's not you're not necessarily liable from a licensing standpoint.
If it's not illegal, but I could get sued if something gets broken. Hey, you broke this crap.
Injury is what it boils down to.
Slips and falls.
Injury.
So we could get sued for that. And then would our E&O insurance cover that, or since it's post-close?
Well, it's not errors and admissions, right? You're hiring a vendor to move stuff. That's not part of the real estate transaction.
Well, the conversation, but that's when you have liability insurance, like at least $1 million policy.
Yeah.
Personally, aside from
For your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good umbrella policy.
Yeah, good umbrella policy goes a long way.
Yeah, at least $1 million. I think it's $3 a month.
Slip and fall. We deal with slip and fall. Like when you think about it, right? If somebody's walking through an open house, somebody's showing a property and somebody slips and falls, why would they come to us and sue us, right? We don't own the house. We didn't do anything, but that's what happens, right? And so to your point, if you're moving stuff and somebody drops a dresser on their foot and it breaks, and even though that person works for 1-800-GOT-JUNK, right? That doesn't, we live in the most litigious state in the country, right? They're going to sue. Right.
So on that,
Yeah.
Guys, was this helpful?
Yes.
All right, so go forth, fill out those forms. Don't get sued, and if you have any questions, contact Ryan.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Bottom line, sorry.